let's paint a stone magic landscape. Let's see the speed paint I have. This is the final painting of the magical kind of fantasy rock landscape that I draw and paint. Also, this is the final art. The foreground I have a grass, a blue grass, and the mid is a kind of a bush, and there are some tree trunks, and the mid focal point is the like a magical rock. Circular is a more circular, and in the mid is a like a puddle of water, and we have the sky as the background. Let's start the video. I try to sketch out the trees and the shape of the rocks. I use some perspective lines to help me with the layout. To the main point is I'm going to make this as a one point perspective, so the main focal point will be in the center of the art, and which is the magical rock where I start to draw in the circular shapes and the 3D shapes for the rocks. I tried to draw in the grass, but in the end I didn't use this grass. I'll be using a very smaller type of grass, and I want the foreground to just have a small size grass, because I do not want it to take up much space on the foreground. I redraw the shape of the stones. I put I paint in a very much more saturated blue because I want it to be the focal point of the painting, and I redraw the 3D lines to make a 3D form for the shapes of the rocks. I continue to draw the sky and paint the sky. I use different tones of blues, and I smudge them, and I draw in some tree, and I paint in some texture for the tree. I draw in I use some texture brush to draw in the uh, texture of the rocks, and I put in some ripple of water for the puddle of water. And I think I'm going to redraw the foreground because I want there's a path towards the magical rock, and I just adjust the tree so it looks like it's more one point perspective have a vanishing point towards the mid of the canvas, and I draw in the highlights and shadows for the path, and then I draw in some more grass. I draw in the shadows for the path. And I just put in different shades of blue, and I draw in a person in there with a shadow, and I use the perspective line to just draw the grass again, and I adjust everything to blue color, and I did some overlay, and this is the final painting of uh, the stone magical rock fantasy landscape.